Hello, 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 hello. Welcome, welcome all of you, wherever you are. You might be in Africa, you might be in America, you might be all over in Europe, South America, and Asia. Welcome to Wazilekaya, Culture Isiko. In this channel, we discuss things that related to us as Africans. We discuss things that related to our culture as African people. Whether we have migrated from Africa, we are staying abroad in Europe, we are staying all over the world. But still we have a sense of where we belong as African people. I know we have been converted to Christianity, which has led us to believe that when we speak about culture, we speak about evil. Anything that is related to culture has been regarded as evil. What is culture? That's when we must begin to digest what we want to speak about. In Wazilekaya, this is how we have viewed culture. It is the way of life of a certain people or a certain community. What do I mean? The way of life, how we live, how we dress, how we communicate. These are all the things that are involved. As Africans, I have tried to observe so many cultures. I have an opportunity that I have mixed with so many people from different African countries. There's no country in Africa where there's no culture. All the countries in Africa, they've got a culture that defines themselves, that defines their people, that defines their way of living. If you go to Nigeria, they have their own culture that defines them. If you go to Congo, DRC, they have got their own culture that defines them. If you go to South Africa, they've got their own culture that defines them. If you go whichever country in Africa, they have what they define them. This is what we speak about when we speak about culture. But out of these cultural activities or cultural livings that these countries, all of them, go through, they all go similar direction. They all go at a similar direction. It might change one or two things, but you find that all of them, they still speaks of one thing. There is respect, the way you respect an elder in an African culture, regardless of which country you come from. There is respect that you give to your in-laws, regardless of which culture you come from. There is no African culture where these things don't take place. So, us as Christians, we have regarded our culture as African people as something that is evil, because we have adopted Christianity. Christianity has made us to look at our culture as something that is evil. But today, I want us to digest in this way and say, from our fathers, they could live a better life, they could live a longer life because they regarded culture as something important. In our cultural society, whichever country we come from, a father or a mother is not my biological father or my biological mother. A mother in the community is my mother. A father in the community is my father. That is culture. Regardless of whichever country you come from, I have observed it applies to each and every country in Africa. But because we have adopted another culture from another society which is not African, when I'm rebuked by a father in a community, I don't listen because it's not my father. When I'm rebuked by a mother in a community, I don't respect that mother because it's not my biological mother. Because we have adopted what does not belong to us. What belongs to us, we have diverted it to a certain level and disregarded it as important. This is how we have failed to conquer as young as we are. We have failed to reach certain stages. It is because we have lost our values. It's because we have lost our culture behaviors. You couldn't kiss a girl in front of the community or in front of the elders. But this is what we do today as young people, because we believe we have rights for everything. And we believe that what was happening in an African values was something that was oppressing us. And we believe that our forefathers were, or not our forefathers, or our fathers were being oppressed, or our forefathers were being oppressed by the environment which they lived in. But it is in an African culture that these values must be observed, and these values could take you long. For those who believe in Christianity, like I do believe in Christianity, yes. But when the Bible explains and says, honor your father and your mother, the Bible does not describe your biological father or your biological mother. How can you honor only your mother when you have got fathers in your community or in your church? They are your fathers. So if you are saying you are only going to honor your mother alone or your father alone, so you cannot even honor your pastor in the church because he's not your biological father. But honoring your mother and your father is something that the Bible speaks about. It speaks about all the mothers that are around you. It speaks about all the fathers that are around you that you must honor. What has been written in the Bible has been practiced in our African culture as well. So we cannot disregard our culture because of Christianity. Remember one thing, I'm speaking about culture as something that we belong to as African people. Culture that we belong to, culture that you grew up under, culture that your parents taught you to respect, your parents taught you to share, your parents taught you how you should respect elders, your parents taught you how you should speak with elders. Respect is earned. We have failed to earn respect from our fellow friends because we have regarded what we have been taught as something that was oppressing us. But in an African way, you were taught how to speak, you were taught how to dress, you were taught how to address elders, you were taught how to behave in the whole community. It is culture. Because we have taken other people's cultures, we regard our culture as inferior. There is another culture that is superior than an African culture. But kwazile khaya, we will be sharing such things. We will be sharing these things for us to understand that as African people, as African community, we still need to observe our culture, not divert to indulge in another cultures that we were not taught, that we were not born with. We were born with an African culture. Regardless, I might have traveled and stayed in a foreign land, or I might stayed in any other country except from my original country. So in that case, we must know that Wazile Kaya is a cultural channel, a community of people who want to discuss culture, a community of people who want to share views on Isiko, a community of people who want to go back to their roots, a community of people who want to say, yes, you are a Christian, but you still belong to a culture. Yes, you have been converted. Remember, these people who converted us to Christianity, they came in with their culture as well. And this culture, they taught us Christianity, they then taught us their culture as well. And then when they told or they'd given us their cultures, we forget that we have our own culture as well. So, Wazilekai, we discuss culture. We speak about culture. Let's go back to our roots. When we go back our roots, we'll see how we have been blinded by another culture. I said I've never seen an African without a culture. I've never seen an African who has no roots. I have never seen an African who does not his own beliefs. His beliefs that are coming from his own culture as a human being. I have never seen an African without a culture. I have never seen an African who does not believe. I have never seen an African who does not have his own roots. All of us as Africans, we have roots. All of us as Africans, there's somewhere where we began. all of us as Africans, we must remember to go back to our roots. When we go back to our roots, we start where we began and we move forward and continue with what we started in the beginning. Thank you for watching. Keep subscribing as we are going to indulge, or as we are going to move into a journey of culture, Isiko, KwaZulu-Natal. Hopefully we'll enjoy, all of us, to dig deep into our African culture, African dresses, African beliefs, and indulge so much in removing the idea that whatever an African is doing is evil, because Christianity has taught us that African is evil. I go to church. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in God. But I believe in a culture where I grew up as well, where I could go to the bush and get leaves from a tree when I'm coughing and drink and get well, where I could go into the bush and get roots from a tree and put in water when I'm in pain, when my stomach is running, where I could go to the bush and get roots from a tree and put in water. I drink, I get well. I grew up in a culture where I could go to the bush and get a branch of a tree and burn it and smoke, and my headache cease. I grew up in a culture where I could drink boiled leaves of trees for certain diseases, for certain infections, so that I could relieve. All the tablets that we drink, some of them, they come from these roots that are in the bush. They come from these trees that are in the bush. So we must go back to our roots and remember that we are Africans. We are Africans. We have what we believe in. We have our culture. Now there's COVID. They are running around, take this tree, take that tree, take that tree. It will help you. So this shows you how Africa is important, how African culture is important, how we as Africans, we have grown up to be who we are because of our roots. Thank you. Subscribe, like. Let's continue our journey. KwaZulu-Natal culture Isiko. Thank you. Ngiyabonga. Realibunga. Ngiyakhetha. Thank you so much. May you be blessed.